do you ever wonder, why me? Why is this happening to me? And he said, why not me? Like, what makes him exempt from suffering? And so I think hearing that as a child, I just realized that is part of this life. We're not so special that we're not gonna suffer. Someone listening to this might think, oh, it's easy to say now because it's so many years later. There were so many periods where I was very depressed, so much in denial that the whole thing happened.
Yep. Are you recording on your end?
Hi, I'm Suzanne, and I'm a Christian. I've spent my entire life in what I call an echo chamber.
Oh my gosh.
I've just always been surrounded by people who look like me and think like me, and the world is so divisive. I just personally want to leave my echo chamber, and I want to get uncomfortable, and I want to sit down with people who have different belief systems than me and seek to understand their story. And I want to love them for who they are, where they are.
Of course.
Welcome back to my journey. I so appreciate you joining me. And today I'm excited to have someone back that you've already met before. And her name is Sara. She's my personal trainer. We did an interview several weeks back. And as I rewatched that later, I found myself wanting to dig in some more on some of the stuff she said. And also, there have been a couple of developments since we last spoke that I think it would be important for people to hear from you. So welcome back, Sara.
I'm so excited to be back, and thanks for having me.
And it's fun just to be able to sit down and have this conversation with someone who's actually a friend. Since a lot of people I interview, I only kind of know a little bit.
Yeah.
We know way too much about each other, but that's okay. So do you remember the first time we met, and like, when was that?
Yes, I do. It was January of 2024.
Yeah.
And we met at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And I remember when you first, we had no idea what each other looked like or anything. Yeah. So when you walked in, I saw your tattoos. It's like, oh, she's cool. That was my first initial thought. Cool. I was like, this lady is cool.
Do you remember anything about my story? Because we each were sharing our stories with each other.
I do. And I remember that within a few minutes, I felt really comfortable in your presence. I think because you're just a very open, vulnerable, true to yourself kind of person. And so it makes it easy to be that way around you. And I remember you said that you had been through something really hard and you had been depressed for a while and that you needed to feel better in your body. Yeah. And so you were looking for a trainer.
Yeah.
That's my first memory of our conversation.
Yeah. In January of 2024, I was coming out, I wasn't coming out of. In January of 2024, I was smack dab in the middle of a really hard season. I lost my job the October before that. And my day-to-day from that point, from October up to when I met you, my day-to-day consisted of deep depression. I was on a lot of medication for anxiety and depression. I had a lot of social anxiety that lasted for a good solid year and a half where I didn't want to leave my house. And anytime I went, especially if I was going somewhere new, like meeting you at the coffee house, I had a lot of anxiety that I didn't always understand why. I think maybe there was something in the back of my head that wondered, like, who am I going to run into? Yeah. It's not easily explainable, right? It's just something my nervous system was doing. Yeah. Because of the grief that I had over the things I had lost. My job was my passion. It was what I felt like was the calling on my life and my entire community and my identity. And so I was grieving all of that. So my day-to-day was I would get up every morning and I would make my bed. It was like, that was the thing where I was like, I have to make my bed every morning. And then I would do the bare minimum around the house just so that it was livable and like, it didn't look like some crazy person lived here. And I would do the bare minimum to make sure my kids were okay and they weren't worrying about me. And then I would like build this little comfy fort on top of my bed and pull in my dogs with me and close my door and just watch TV the rest of the day.
Wow.
And I gained weight. I was not moving my body. And it was in January that I reached out to a couple friends and I was like, I have to move my body. Like I was still on a lot of medication.
Yeah.
But I knew from a mental, emotional perspective, I needed to move my body. And so then I started driving to East Nashville from Franklin, at that point, twice a week.
Yes.
To train with you. And now we do it 3 times a week. And the commute was very therapeutic for me. I had never had a long commute to work or anywhere else on a regular basis. And I was listening to audiobooks and music. And that time alone in the car where I felt safe was huge for me. And then I walked into Nashville personal training in East Nashville, and like the vibe was amazing. We have all these trainers with their clients and everyone's having fun.
Yeah.
And struggling, like
Sure.
working hard.
Yeah.
But like no one's taking themselves too seriously, clients or trainers. And it just became, you guys became a community for me.
Yeah.
And I met my dear friend Howard early on, who's a 62-year-old, half Japanese, half American, quirky, funny, awesome human being. And we are just joined at the hip now, and we get sad when we don't get to train together.
Yeah, I know.
And so I think your story, my story, as it relates to you and our relationship is so important because that was a turning point for me.
Yeah.
Meeting you and working with you was a turning point. Now, I still had months to go of grieving and depression and things like that. I mean, I would drive down the street on a regular basis and pray that God would take my life because I wasn't willing to take my life myself, but I had zero desire to live. And as I started moving my body and spending time with you guys and working out, that began to decrease.
Wow.
And, you know, what happens to you physiologically working out really did start to get healthier for me. And so I just think it's important that we share that.
Yeah.
Because I believe God put you in my life at that time for a reason. And I don't believe in coincidence. That's me personally.
Yeah.
So do you have any questions about that or anything you want to add to that?
How long do you think it took coming to training to kind of start to get out of the depressive slump, the funk, if you can pinpoint it? Or was it a gradual thing or?
It was gradual.
Yeah.
I think it was probably at least 9 months, if not longer, before I started decreasing the medication I was taking. I have a wonderful doctor and a great therapist.
Yeah.
So I was like regularly seeing a doctor and a therapist and doing the training. And so like it took a village.
Honestly, I think that combination is great though, because I think that sometimes people will use movement only as therapy. And I believe you need both. Like it's not a replacement, but I do, like you said, moving your body, I mean, physiologically has so many awesome benefits. So I just am I believe God put you in my life for a reason too. So I think it's, I think
why do you think?
So I had been a trainer at National Personal Training when you started coming around a year and a half, I think. And before that, I was an occupational therapy assistant, which I don't think I talked about last time. But I kind of transitioned out of that role and became a trainer. And I think that having you as a consistent client really built my confidence as a trainer, as a newer trainer. And I remember meeting you and I was like, okay, I'm going to say I'm in East Nashville. It's going to be too far. And you were just like, no, that's fine. That's great. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm worth driving that far for.
Yes.
And then just your whole spirit. And like I said at the beginning, like you are just you and who you are. And I think that allowed me to be me and who I am. And so, I just think that God placed us in each other's lives.
I love that. And just little side note, I cuss a lot when I'm working out. Like that's how I deal with the pain, and the stress of working out. And so
cussing is therapeutic to me. So
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a great habit to have, but
sure, but
you do have to deal with it.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
Let's talk about your dad.
Yeah.
We talked about your dad last time. You identified him as a narcissist. You talked about how you didn't feel emotionally safe as a child, especially around him.
Yeah.
I am curious, and you don't have to share anything, but I'm curious if you have any more memories from a young age of anything that happened with him, any incident or situation that's real specific that caused you to feel this fear of angering him, irritating him, and not being emotionally safe with him.
Yeah. You know, my mom was also very stressed when she was pregnant with me.
Sure.
Her dad had just passed away about maybe 9 months to a year before.
And she found out her husband was cheating on her.
Yes. And she said she only gained 15 pounds when she was pregnant with me. And I was a 7-pound baby. I really don't know how I came out healthy, but I did. But anyway, so he was at the birth, and then my mom said that he drove us home and dropped us off and left.
Wow.
And so I think, back to answer your original question, I think I never felt safe around him because he literally abandoned me at birth.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think there was ever a safety emotionally with him. So I think it literally has been my whole life that I haven't felt emotionally safe around him.
Last time we talked, you had determined you have not spoken to him since 2007. Last time we spoke, you had decided to write him a letter. And you have since written him that letter. So tell me why you wanted to write him that letter.
I think after our conversation, it really kind of lit a fire in me to go ahead and write the letter. I've been thinking about it for, probably years, to be honest. And I just wanted him to know, God forbid he died, and I wanted him to know I'm not angry anymore. And I think the last letter was out of anger that I wrote to him. And this one's, I wanted to be from forgiveness and a place of love, and to let him know I've done a lot of healing and I forgive him. And
you said those words in the letter, I forgive you.
I said, I don't think I said I forgive you, but I did say I've done a lot of work around our relationship. And I've realized that you did the best you could do with the tools that you had. And I thank you for that. And there are some things I didn't get as a child, but I love you and appreciate you because you gave me life.
That is such a gift, Sarah.
Yeah. And I said that I was at peace with where we are. And I just wanted him to know that I'm not mad anymore. And I was when I was 19.
I want to pause for a minute because there are probably so many people who I hope will watch or hear this story, and their minds will be blown because they've been through similar situations with a parent.
Yeah.
And for you to have the generosity of spirit to write that letter to him and give him that as a gift, whether he deserves it or not.
Right.
I mean, obviously that's healthy for you.
Yeah.
But what a gift to him.
I hope so. I hope
Did he write back?
He hasn't yet. I sent the letter 3 weeks ago. So I don't know if he will write back.
It was a physical letter.
It was a physical handwritten letter, where the last one was an email. So this one was, and I don't know if I shared this in the last interview or not, but he writes me a letter every year on my birthday.
That's right.
And sends it to me. And my birthday is in about a month. So
he writes you a letter? Like, what does he say?
Well, maybe I shouldn't say letter. It's a pre-printed card with a couple of
Thank you.
things.
Okay, that makes more sense.
It's not not a letter. It's a Hallmark card with a couple of
God bless
sentences. And sometimes he'll send a gift card to Jersey Mike's or something random. Or a couple of years, he has sent photos of when I was little, and pictures of us together when I was a child.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other things we talked about, just going by my memory, was I shared with you the way that I sit on my back porch and open myself up to just being in the presence of God and like sitting with him and inviting him to talk to me and just be in the space with me. And you made a comment about wanting to do that. And so I'm curious if you've tried that. And then also we had a conversation about where I asked you a question about the way, so to back up, so this will be a 2-part question. To back up, you have this experience at 19, you almost die in a car wreck, and you're very boldly, you tell people, I believe God placed a retired ambulance driver like at the scene when this happened. And ultimately that's one of the ways that my life was saved.
Yes.
And God put other people in the right place, the right time. And so you make those statements and you identify that God had his hand on your life in that way. But yet we talked about how both of us feel that way, but don't prioritize a relationship with this God who has been that intentional to, I would say, hold you in the palm of his hand and protect you.
Yeah.
And that led into talking about me sitting on the back porch, because I'm really trying to work on that. I believe he's real. I believe he created us. And I believe that he wants to have a relationship with us. I believe that's why he created us. And so talk to me about where you are today. And if you're in the same place, that's fine. This is a no shame zone.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say since our last conversation, at first I didn't change much. And then lately I've been going out on the front porch in the morning without anything, without a journal or a podcast, or, well, I will bring my dog, but that's it.
Of course.
And just sit and just listen to the birds chirping and like have a conversation with God and just allow him to be able, for me to actually like listen without distraction. And I just ask each morning, whoever is put in my path today, I hope that I can see what I need to see with that person and hear them and their story. And I just love why people are the way they are and how they tick. And I think it's special to be able to be aware enough to witness that. So just, I've started to slow down more in general, not necessarily physically, because, I'm very active, but mentally, I've just let myself not have as many external distractions to allow other things to come in, like God.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've heard him? Do you feel like you've heard him say anything to you? Or do you feel like you've experienced anything new in relation to God?
Well, I don't know. Not like something that's jarring.
Yeah.
Like an obvious thing.
Do you feel more peaceful?
I do. I feel calmer internally. And I kind of pay attention to the little things more so than like the big jarring things. So I think that peace can be really impactful.
Yeah, I agree. I had heard about your wreck before, but in the last interview, you mentioned there was a friend in the car with you, and that was the first I known you weren't alone in the car wreck.
Okay.
And I that really caught my attention, because as you routinely talk about that car wreck just in your daily interactions with people, you don't mention her. Are you still friends with her?
We aren't still friends. We became friends in college, so we didn't really have like a basis to go off of. We'd only been friends about 6 months. I was driving her car when the accident happened, and she was also asleep in the passenger seat. And so she woke up when she realized I had fallen asleep and yelled my name. And then that's when I overcorrected.
Okay.
And she actually got out of the car and walked around the car, and she had a broken neck and didn't even really realize it. But we saw each other that summer after the car accident, and she came up to visit with her mom, and I was in neck brace and cast, and she had a halo. And so we saw each other in that condition, which was.
Are there photos of the two of you?
No.
Oh, wow.
I don't have photos of me in the hospital at all. No video, nothing. And honestly, I'm kind of grateful. I don't need to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't really have like a big falling out or anything. We just never really had a big basis of friendship to go off of.
And you didn't go back to school.
I didn't go back to school. I couldn't at the time.
Yeah.
That summer, the doctors told my mom I couldn't go back. And I remember being so upset. I cried and cried and cried and cried. And I didn't understand why I couldn't go back. Even though it was very obvious to the outside person, I was in denial.
Yeah.
But I mean, I couldn't get myself dressed. I couldn't lift a gallon of milk. There's no way I could have lived by myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't go back to school.
Okay. That just stayed with me wondering about her. In the last interview, you were talking about, just for the sake of the audience and for me, for clarity, I think this is important. When you were first taken to the hospital, you had a family friend who lived here in Nashville. Your mom was here in Nashville.
Yes.
You are in Mississippi. This family friend was very like, she takes care of business. So she had called the hospital and checked on you to try to help your mom out. And she instigated a phone call between you and your mom.
Yes.
And so you talked about that, and all your mom remembers you saying is hurry mom.
Yeah.
Hurry mom.
Yeah.
And I wanted to clarify that you were on the phone with your mom when you said that.
Yes. I was on the phone with my mom.
As a mom, I'm picturing myself in a car driving from Nashville to Carthage, Mississippi, not knowing for sure how bad of a situation I'm about to walk into with my baby girl. And she's on the phone with me and saying, hurry, mom.
Yeah.
Like, I think I would black out and just drive 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. My mom said that. So my stepdad was driving the car because my mom said she couldn't physically drive. She said I could not physically drive.
Yeah.
And when she originally got the call from my brother that I was in an accident, she said that a noise came out of her body that it was like a primal, she couldn't control it.
Yeah.
And on the way down, she had only thought, the only thing that she knew was that I broke my arm.
Yeah.
And then she said, when she came to the hospital, she said, if I didn't know it was you, obviously you're my daughter, but I wouldn't have recognized you because you were so swollen. My eyes didn't open for a few days. When they finally did, they were just blood red. So yeah, it was a hard time.
Yeah. One of the comments you made in our last interview was that we talked a lot about who you might have been at this age if you never had that car accident. You were a sorority girl on your way, and so much change. You had a brain injury.
Yeah.
And so the trajectory of your life changed in so many ways, in every possible way. And we talked a lot about like just wondering what kind of woman would Sara be today if she had never had that accident? And you made a comment that you discovered what matters. And I would love for you to elaborate and tell me, what is that? What is it that you discovered that matters?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that at age 19, I didn't really understand what mattered. And I was concerned about what every probably 19-year-old girl is, things that are just so superficial. And I think when your life is almost taken from you and you can't get yourself dressed or wipe yourself, or these really basic human things, that the little things are really the big things. And that's really what matters to me. And I also think that I found out who really cared about me and that human connection is so important. And I also learned that you really never know what other people have been through. And even though once I physically healed, I still had a lot of mental and internal things going on, but you couldn't tell anymore. And so I think I learned to never judge people based on how they appear, because you really have no idea what's going on in their internal world.
Yes.
And so I think that
That's huge.
That's why I get so excited about the little things, because to me, there really are the big things in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that.
I think that's huge. I think that's something that everyone should learn from, including myself, is that as humans, we're so judgmental.
Yeah.
And we want to see the worst in people. And no matter how big someone is smiling, there's always a story behind that smile.
Always.
It's not always bad.
No.
But sometimes it is, and they're hiding it. And if we just assume everyone we run into has some level of pain or something they're experiencing that's negative, if we just assume that, we'll be kinder.
Yes.
And we will treat them differently.
Yeah.
Even
exactly.
if we're in a hurry.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think that, when that day my accident happened, I had no idea. I mean, we never have any idea what's going to happen when we wake up, right?
Oh.
You can have a plan, but I had no idea that my entire life was going to change that day.
Yeah.
And even though it was a horrible thing that happened, I really do think it was a blessing in disguise. That's something my grandmother used to say, that things can be a blessing in disguise. And I think that it was, because I think it literally changed the trajectory of my whole life. And I would have never had the mindset and the ability to see things in that way if I wouldn't have experienced that accident.
And back to that, when you were in the hospital, you talk about how the nurses remarked about your joyful spirit. How does a 19-year-old selfish sorority girl, I'm sorry, that's very abrasive of me, but for the sake of conversation,
but probably, right.
How does that girl, who is fairly immature, just started college, has abandonment issues with a narcissist dad, like how does that girl lying in the hospital bed with so much broken and so much pain have a joyful spirit? How do you answer that?
Yeah, I think there are several probably pieces to it. I think one, my mom and grandmother, their spirit, and I had so much love on that side of my family that I think that really helped form me into who I was. I also think some of us are born a little bit half glass, half full kind of people, and some are glass half empty. I do think that having some kind of belief in a bigger thing than myself, God for me, also helps. That there was a plan for me, and that this is part of my plan. And even though it's really hard, suffering is part of life. And I think that knowing that it is peaks and valleys and isn't always just going to be up, 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 there's going to be really big downs. But I think that I learned the most about myself through those really hard times, and leaning on that instead of resisting it, I think can also
Was there
help.
a phrase your grandfather always said that you didn't know your grandfather?
Right.
He passed before you were born, but I feel like I've heard you say that growing up, your grandmother and your mom were constantly telling you a phrase that he was known to say.
So when he was really sick, one of his friends said, "Do you ever wonder why me? Why is this happening to me?" And he said, "Why not me? Like, what makes him exempt from suffering?" And so I think hearing that as a child, I just realized that is part of this life. We're not so special that we're not going to suffer.
I think a lot of people struggle with that as it relates to God or Christianity. Like, if God is real, why does he allow suffering? And there is a lot of suffering in the world that's hard to explain and hard to understand. And you're making that very personal by saying the struggle that you had. Again, you live in America. You're in the top 1% of the entire world.
Right.
We need to be clear about that.
Yes, yes.
And you didn't die, but you did experience a really traumatic situation.
Yeah.
And you still had the attitude like, why not me? Which is amazing and such a gift from your grandfather and from your family.
Yeah.
To be able to have that outlook and not just wallow in self-pity, which you probably did from time to time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, someone listening to this might think, oh, it's easy to say now because it's so many years later. There were so many periods where I was very depressed, so much in denial that the whole thing happened. Something I learned from my therapist after I went to therapy after my accident. He said, when you go through a trauma, you go through 4 phases: DADA, denial, anger, depression, and acceptance. And you can cycle in and out of those. And I absolutely went through all of those things.
Say them one more time.
Denial, anger, depression, acceptance.
Wow.
And if I look back at my journey since my car accident, I definitely went through all of those. And I think anger was the hardest one for me to access, just because I haven't ever really been an angry person. And I remember the therapist told my mom, you have to let Sara be angry. You have to let her be angry, even though, yes, she's grateful she's alive, and she is alive. And that's something to be grateful for. She has to be angry to be through this. And he was like, you should be angry too. You know, you have to let yourself feel all those raw, hard feelings to get to the other side.
Yeah, I grew up being taught that, you know, anger was negative, and all the negative emotions I was supposed to like suppress and not acknowledge. And that's just not, that's not healthy.
No,
because
it's not.
Those are, I believe God gives us those feelings in order to process suffering.
Yes.
Process life as it happens to us.
Yes. And I've also heard that if you try and numb or stuff the negative emotions, you can't fully feel the positive ones. And so it's really important to let yourself access all of those. And they're just messengers trying to tell us something. Instead of being scared of the hard emotions, it's like, if you don't allow them through, you'll never know what you're supposed to hear.
I love that. I'm really glad you're in my life.
Me too.
And you have to always be in my life.
Always.
When I'm 80 years old, you're going to be training me.
We're still going to be doing workouts in a wheelchair at 90.
Not in a wheelchair.
Not in a wheelchair. With your rollator.
You're going to keep me strong so I don't ever have to sit in a wheelchair.
Ever.
But none of us are promised tomorrow. None of us are promised health.
No.
It's not something we can depend on.
No.
Thank you for coming back.
Yes. I loved it so much.
You're so open and vulnerable, and that's so helpful to people.
Well, thanks. I was actually talking to my mom before this, and I'm so grateful that I had this opportunity to do this show and talk to you and be a guest. And I was thinking, I'm like, if one person hears my story and it helps them, then that's worth it to me. And I think I used to not be as vulnerable as I am now and share things. But I think that being able to do that almost gives permission to other people to be able to do it too.
Yes.
And we're all just on this earth doing the best we can, having a human experience. So why not? Why not just be more vulnerable and connect with people?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I did part 2 with Sara, because the first interview we did, she talked about this desire she had to write her dad a letter someday. And then after that interview, she did write him a letter. Now, what you don't know if you watched part 2 that I found out recently is, sure enough, on her birthday, just like every other year, if you remember her saying this, he sent her a Hallmark card. And he referenced her letter and thanked her for it. And he actually said some very kind things in the card. You know, that's from my perspective. Her as the daughter, you know, definitely has a different perspective because there are so many wounds there. And I want to just say this. We throw around the term narcissist a lot. I do know a couple of people who were either married to someone who is actually a narcissist, or had a father who was, or a mother who was, and it is an actual thing. And those people fundamentally do not have the ability to empathize, to care about the needs of other people. And it's important that we understand that. Like, if you don't understand what that term means, look it up and read about it. Because if you listen to this or you watch this and you have someone in your life who has wounded you because of that mentality that they have, I hope you felt connection with Sara's story. And I hope it gives you permission to be vulnerable and share your story. And I would love for you to do that with me. Comment below. You can do it anonymously if you want. Tell me your story, ask your questions, and we'll make that part of the content for future shows. But I also want to point out, if you really listen to Sarah's story, the trauma that she went through, the abandonment with her dad, and all of that, her mother and her grandmother were so important to the formation of this amazing human being that she has grown up to be, and even was as a child, obviously, because we talk about when she was in the hospital so broken and in so much pain, and what a joyful spirit she had that the nurses commented on. And that was because she had a mom and a grandmother who were praying for her, who loved her so well and set those examples for her and were so formidable during her formidable years. And please don't discount that. If you have access or ability to be a part of the formation of a child in a positive way, regardless of what their other circumstances are, do not underestimate the power of a mom and a grandmother, and a dad and a grandfather, an uncle and aunt. It doesn't matter. There are so many stories I hear of grown-ups who had difficult childhoods. They always remember this one teacher, this one coach, this one person that made such an impact on their lives, and they usually credit them for the success that they've had as adults. And so I just really want to point that out in Sarah's story and encourage you in that. And thank you so much for being on this journey with me and Sara. We are both very grateful. I can speak on behalf of her, and I look forward to seeing you in future parts of my journey. So thank you so much.